Hello, how are y'all?
You know, I tried to email you last night and got kicked back for some reason, so I'm not sure what happened. Let me tell you what. I got emailed the wrong address.
The facial hair is new.
I'm just doing well. How are you? It's possible. You know, I screw things up all the time, so yeah.
This is awesome, man. I love being from my car.
How you doing, sir?
Good.
John Wallace.
I've never seen you before at the other Holly Springs. Look familiar.
I work for the congressman, and my area is Cherokee County, except for some issues that district wise. I try to go as many things in Cherokee County as I can, because he can't get to too many things.
Ah, come on.
I did try to email you. It just got kicked. They said bad email address.
So this was a real bus at one time.
Yeah, I think it was a local man that owned it.
Alright, I've tagged our offices in Fresh Yard. It's just like, yeah, it's like 30.
I believe the man at Harris Harbour somehow obtained this, and I think it was one of the old Atlanta buses.
Yeah?
Anything else that I need?
Hey, how you doing?
Good. Jared Robinson.
John Wallace.
Nice to meet you.
Good. I'm just looking at your logo.
Aero Perspective.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Drone services.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, that's an interesting.
This is the point where I don't understand.
Got a friend that's a photographer that does houses, and I think he's on his 4th or 5th drone. He's been doing it a while. But,
Hope he's licensed.
I'm sure he is. I'm sure
If you're on
he
your
is.
5th drone, you probably are, you know, following by the regulations.
Yeah, they're expensive.
FCC, well, not FCC, FAA, yeah. My daughter has a little one, but I don't think it doesn't fall into that.
No, it doesn't.
You don't need a license if you make money.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
In fact, if you don't have a license, you get more leeway if you do have a license.
Oh, really? So here's a funny question. So I fly. Let's say I go to an event and I fly that event and I fly it around, take some videos, and I was like, I'm just gonna put this on my YouTube. And then a year and a half later, it gets 1 million hits. All of a sudden, I start getting revenue from it. You know, where's the leeway there? Where do I end up getting?
You can't fly off a crap.
Oh, because I don't have a license.
Even with a license.
Oh, really?
CNN's the only one that was able to get authorization to do that.
It's just like saying about my friend.
Good morning, sir. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning.
You have a winery?
Yes, sir.
Oh, fantastic. I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, we're just on the other side of town here. If you know where Dollar General is,
The lapel pins.
I'll have to look at that.
just go up to the stop line, the stop sign.
If I get it, are you going to be at work today?
And we're right across the street from the Dollar General. Our vineyards are back in the woods there. You can't see the vineyards.
Okay.
What vineyard is it? Huh? What vineyard? It's a Feather's Edge. Feather's Edge Vineyard.
I've done FaceTime since the grandkids have shown me how, but
We've got about.
I don't do it very often, but
It's 5 acres. 5 acres.
Small staff.
So I've been working up at Kaya.
yeah, that'd be fine.
And part of the wine producers group there. I'm a corporate sponsor.
Okay. Okay.
Flying with a filter that tells you the stress levels of the vines.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. Just to tell you if they're healthy or not.
Yeah.
Working tours and stuff?
Yep.
We are in the middle of making that happen. Right now, I have a little trail that we're taking down to one of the vineyards, but it's not quite finished yet. We're working right now on a
He
little
didn't make any money from that. But
That's great.
Right.
it gives an aerial view of the house. In other words, people get to see what neighborhood it's in. But no, he's.
If a realtor got caught in drone footage that was done by either themselves or an unlicensed pilot, they get $10,000.
Yeah. Well, we're in the business of crushing regulations like that. Some of those regulations just don't make sense, and we got rid of a bunch of them this year. And and just about anything during the Obama years, when they did a regulation, well, it's just like Dodd-Frank. Dodd-Frank was, probably has some good parts to it, but instead of going, let's say they, was tilted this way, instead of bringing it like this, they went all the way like that. So it crushed all these small banks. I remember thinking when I moved here 25 years ago, I've never seen so many banks. And they're all being crushed by Dodd-Frank. And now, those people used to know you. You used to go to church with you. And you come in and say, hey, I need a loan. And now you got to go in and say, I used to make fun of I go to, there was a bank in kind of like we got. It's changed name 3 times, 3 major banks.
I know what you're talking about. It's right by my house.
Wells Fargo. And I said, I know what y'all do. And the manager, because the manager changes. I don't care making fun of them. I used to do customer service for an international company. And I said, look, every time I come in here, I said, I know that lady. Nobody else in here I know. I said, y'all take a van and go to a parking lot. And part of your security deal must be just pick random people and bring them into the bank. They work at this bank today, tomorrow they work at this. I said, that's a pretty good security plan. But I said, you're not building any customer relations.
That's right.
I mean, really, you go in there, that Sabab Patel lady, she's been in there for like 4 or 5 years. And I know her, she always said, Mr. Wallace, how you doing? And we have a conversation. But, I mean, they had a manager, a really good manager, and he did live over in Dallas, and they opened a bank over there, so he took that job. But, I mean, that can't be an explanation for constant, every time you go in there, it's a new crew.
Did you know 80% of the world's credit card transactions are funneled through Atlanta?
I did read something about that in AJC.
The top 6 companies that do that are headquartered here in Atlanta. At the New York Stock Exchange, the guy who owns it.
Is there any way to send that video to you?
Oh yeah, I can move out of your way. I'm sorry.
I tried to figure out a way around it, unfortunately, without blocking the aisle pretty well.
Tell you what, I gotta take this phone call anyway.
Okay.
How are you? Let it live on our website.
What's your email?
Yeah, that's really
Joe.
Yeah, sounds that scary.
Red Barn.
Well, again,
Homes. HOMES.com.
I might let y'all visit with people because y'all probably know people here better than me.
everybody seems to. I've not seen this in a while.
Red Barn. Homes.
Homes is one of the good balls in the presence. So y'all take one.
Yeah, it is. It is. Now the question is, can I look coherent or sound coherent?
You're not here to perform. You're just here to share your story, and you got great people here. You want to hear it? Can I get you anything?
No, you're good.
Can I introduce you to Matthew Thomas?
Oh, we did. We did.
Yes, we did. Glad to have y'all here. It's just real laid back. Share your story.
That's us.
Absolutely.
Hello, sir. Thanks for coming out, sir. Mayor, well, Mayor. Well, grab a seat. I'll get out your way. Appreciate you coming out.
I see Bob showing up.
How do you do, Rick? Good to see you. How are you?
Y'all neighbors, right? Yeah.
We're ever in town.
Yeah, I don't know in the county. That's what I want you to do.
Trying to find an angle that gets we could go here.
No, please, Rick.
Pull that one up. Unfortunately, it's like trying to find a needle in a haystack on the angles.
This is making it otherwise. This
Right. I'm tired of getting that lawyer.
I must have done a lot of
solutions to your problem. And this is not what it is. This is not I'm the one coming down here needing help.
Crazy.
And I'm your drink.
Still would have been I feel like that one before you're here now. There, or that spot,
Things going pretty good. I mean, we had our ailments problems last year. This time is really honing right now. But generally speaking, everything, our main vines look real good. There was one vine that had a little bit of trouble with all along. It was the riskiest of the vines.
So they hate when you can't do a site survey.
You can haul stuff.
Hey Sam, what do you want, a cup of coffee? I'm sure I'm gonna see here.
Oh yeah, you got it. You got it. Anytime you got a big vehicle, you know, families can come.
But it also on the side it's on the tree. And I'm just like, why would I really run out of it? And you call it and have it.
Well, hey, probably all the work it sounds like you do, and you never know.
Oh yeah. Family house. I was just worried about some crazy. Millennial was in a 1855 house. There's always something wrong there.
Sorry about that.
So what's going on? Yeah. So
anyway, that's a lot of my time. But they do pay utilities.
Good.
So I hang up this.
It's like 14 acres.
And we knew about it.
There's extra about
Anyway, I hang up the phone. I'm going, yeah, all right.
Sure.
What's plan B? And so I sat there and I found my
Okay. Yeah.
And it's kids
I'm sorry.
Right.
So that's what we're going to try to do. No, ma'am. No, I'm just wearing it.
I think that's the back here near Gerald when they
Yeah, I'm with him.
Does that work for you? Yes. At the beginning of the Where is he? Okay.
Was this something that they volunteered to do, or something you implemented and had going, and they stepped in to go, okay, we'll help you with it?
It's there, and then because I contacted Wells, and so 3 years
Yeah.
all I had to do was provide food.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
Figure out expensive food. So,
The seating arrangement?
yeah. I mean, the other girl.
Kind of different.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, in downtown, it's packed on Saturdays and Sundays.
The
weather was a little more predictable right now.
I'm going on a Saturday.
What was the word you used a minute ago? No.
Weekdays,
Word like that, not caring kind of a thing, and yeah.
Real here for Bill?
He didn't want to say that. Oh, come on. I mean, you know, maybe the mayor could have been something. Put some positive rock in.
I'm gonna come tell him that he didn't know
Politics or anything.
But I'll be out walking on the streets after side.
Take the blame for that one?
And we went from cool to 90.
Yeah, we went from iceberg
They just take a picture, they look around like, you played this for me?
I was out in the garden the other day, and climbed up. I appreciate it.
Well, that's what I used to, I really, I said it, but it was true. I said it as a joke, but it was true. I said I won't quit to the Whipple sings, you know. Well, when he started early, I was like, thank Lord, thank the Lord. Sometime he wouldn't start till dark. I mean, it was dark.
Dang, how about that? There you go. What did you say? Like threatening business license?
Right.
I'm just sort of probably not where I should be.
Yeah. I got you.
I told him
You would see it. Do it for me. Well, here's something I thought about, and yesterday.
We like closeness. Oh, that was
I got to thinking, we were trying to Tony.
She showed me it's like a little mullet.
Oh yeah. Tony is the and he was trying to. His business go into the point that he could be there all the time. And we had mixed emotions about that because we want variety.
We want it.
Well, it turns out
I wanted to.
more than
I'm willing to
that he was expecting. So the other part was going to say no.
And in fact, I met
can't do
with
that without having a and so now one thing led to another.
the market sometimes
But
that have guest
but then I
mean, he's trying to say, well, you know, that's
there at given times, and
Kroger has
the thing is you're not open on Sunday.
not a convenience store.
And
I mean, clearly we're not going to find a convenience store. But I'd be willing
a lot of what we took in the past and sort of the farmers market thing has benefited the business. I've been looking for sets for that. Yeah, like a little place to just set up to do her little market thing. Again, the Sunday to be
Yeah. All right, everybody get comfortable. We're about to kick off the program this morning. Yeah. Welcome to 1MC Cherokee. First time in Ball Ground, Georgia. We're delighted to be here. My name is Matthew Thomas. I'm the MC of 1MC. The MC stands for 1 Million Cups. It's built around the notion that entrepreneurs and business people typically generate ideas over 1 million cups of coffee. We are delighted to be inside the Burger Bus, and we've got the owner Dylan here who's going to share a couple of words with us before we kick off our program. So take it away, Dylan.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Burger Bus. I appreciate y'all coming. This is kind of a cool concept that Cherokee County's doing. I got to do a little bit of this over in Cherokee County about a month or two ago. It was pretty cool. It's pretty awesome, and we get to have some folks from Ball Ground speak today in the Ball Ground Burger Bus. So I'm pretty excited about that. I've been to Feather's Edge. I don't know if y'all have, but I have, and it's a pretty cool concept. So definitely check those guys out, and excited to hear what they have to say. And afterwards, we open at 11, so if anybody wants a hamburger, they're pretty good. So welcome these folks then.
Thank you, Dylan.
Absolutely.
I've got a couple of words about 1MC that I'd love to share with everyone who may not be familiar with exactly what 1 Million Cups is. 1MC is a free program designed to educate, engage, and connect entrepreneurs with their communities. We do that by once a month meeting at the 1MC headquarters down in Woodstock at the circuit, and then we rotate it once a month at rotating cities in Cherokee County. That first Wednesday when we meet, first Wednesday of the month, is always at the circuit in Woodstock, and then the second time we meet in the month is the third Wednesday of the month at a different city in Cherokee County. 1MC culture, it's a safe and supportive place. We hear from entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs gather at 1MC from all sorts of sectors of the economy, all kinds of ideas, different stages within their business. So it's a very safe and supportive place. It's also inclusive and diverse. Again, it's a wide array of folks from both public and private sector coming together to really allow entrepreneurs to present their ideas, share their ideas with the community, and then allowing the community to ask questions about the entrepreneurs that in fact they may not have known that that particular business was even in their community. And then third, it's always respectful and considerate. We say all the time, when MC is not Shark Tank, we ask questions that will hopefully help to challenge thoughts, that will challenge assumptions, but will also be informative also to the audience and the listeners as well. So hopefully everybody walks away with some sort of new information that perhaps they did not have before they came to a 1MC meeting. 1MC Cherokee's unique vision is to partner with leaders from each city to carry the banner of entrepreneurship throughout all of Cherokee County. Some of those leaders are Misty Martin, whom most of us know is the president of the Cherokee Office of Economic Development. Jonathan Chambers, wave your hand, Jonathan. Jonathan really is the glue to everything that 1MC does with organizing presenters and getting the locations, the venues, the vendors all together. Could not do it without Jonathan. Aaron Honey with the city of Holly Springs. Brian Stockton with the city of Woodstock. We've got Mitzi here with the city of Woodstock. Wave your hand, Mitzi. Tim Norton, who's with Reinhardt, also representing on behalf of Waleska. We've also got two very special guests here with us today. That's Mayor Rick Roberts, Mayor of Ball Ground. Wave your hand, Mayor. Glad you're here. As well as Eric Wilmarth, who's the city manager of Ball Ground. Wave your hand, Eric. Thanks for coming. Glad to see you. And then, of course, it's yours truly. Again, like I said before, 1MC gathers twice a month. The first Wednesday of the month is at the circuit, and then the third Wednesday of the month is at a rotating city in Cherokee County. A big special thanks to the Cherokee Office of Economic Development, who really has done a wonderful job of heading this program and bringing us all together like they do a masterful job of. Fresh Start Cherokee and the circuit. Jonathan Chambers heads a lot of the programs and the initiatives there. City of Holly Springs, City of Woodstock, Reinhardt University. We also got to put the City of Ball Ground, City of Canton. Couldn't also do it without our event sponsors. One unique facet of 1MC is that each gathering is recorded and posted on the 1MC Cherokee's website. So if there's ever perhaps a meeting you missed or a presenter that you wish you could have heard from but wasn't quite able to make the meeting, you can go to 1millioncups.com/Cherokee, and every time we've gathered, there's a recording of it. And all of that recording has been done thus far by Gerald Griffin and his folks at VoiceoverCity. So thank you, Gerald, for everything you do. A big thanks to, you can't have 1MC without coffee. That's what the C stands for. And Jill's Cakes and Bakes provided the great cup of Joe today. Thank you, Jill, wherever you are. Hey, Jill. As well as Dylan and the team at the Burger Bus. Thank you for opening your bus doors. Thank you for opening your doors. To your bus doors. If I haven't shared already, we're online, millioncups.com/Cherokee, but we're also on Twitter, we're on Facebook. If you're perhaps taking pictures, be sure to tag us, 1MCCHK. The CHK is short for Cherokee, and we'll be sure to add that to all the great news and feeds going on. Again, the next time we meet, 6th of June, we'll be at the circuit, and then the 20th will be at Holly Springs Train Depot. So we're just meeting vehicles the whole time. Vehicles, trains, buses, you name it. And now I'll bring up Jonathan Chambers, who's going to present our presenters today. So, Jonathan. Yes, sir.
All right, I've preached before, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you. That being said, guys, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, there's 5 or 6 seats up here. You don't have to stand unless you want to. I mean, if you want to be in front with the actions,
I just want to
grab a
block
seat.
people on little flowers.
Yeah.
Welcome
Thank
to
you.
Burger Bus. It's all about
John
blocking
Wallace?
people. That's what we do here.
I'm good. Come on, Alex.
There's no way to not be
All right.
late.
So I appreciate it, Matthew, for the intro, especially for those who are new to this program. So we kicked this off back in February, and so we were almost February 7th, I believe. So how many months is that? Is that 4 months? 3 months, thank you. Whew, I've got a brand new baby at home too, so my brain is peanut butter. So this is an exciting program, as Matthew said. I won't reiterate everything, but I did want to speak real quick as to how we landed at David and Julie Boone, because I think it's kind of a cool story. So I came up to Ball Ground last Friday, and the way we typically do this program, we always have an entrepreneur that presents. Amanda with Perched across the street, it just didn't work out because of the timing. And so I literally drove to Ball Ground, riding around after talking to Carla Weaver and Karen Jordan with the city of Ball Ground. They gave some suggestions, and David and Julie's names kept coming up. So I thought, I've got to find these Boones. I don't know who they are. And drove up to their amazing art gallery, which is just a couple miles. When you come up here to the main road, you go 1 or 2 miles up Ball Ground Highway.
1 mile.
1 mile. On the left, their art gallery, which has been there for almost 20 years. And then now they're Vineyards, Feather's Edge Vineyards. And you know, as I got to talk to David, I could tell, like, these are my kind of people. I come from a small town called Statesboro, Georgia, and lived there for 25 years. My dad and I had a business, and you could just tell when you meet somebody that they've got a cool story, and they're down to earth, and they're humble. And so I appreciate that about y'all. And honestly, it took some convincing for him to come to the event this morning, and to convince him, don't just come, could you share your story? So we're going to do things a little different. Normally we have a person with a slideshow, and we time them for 6 minutes, but we're not going to do that this morning because I think it'd be kind of cool to just adapt to the context we are this morning. So if you guys will adapt with us and be flexible, I think it'd be great for David to just share part of their story as to what their art gallery is, why they started it, why they got into the vineyard business, and then maybe even share some of your challenges as you try to grow both of those businesses. And we'd love to support you and give you some feedback. All right.
I'll do the best I can.
Cool. Thanks, David. Appreciate it.
This is my phone.
Uh-oh. Business calls.
Well, I was told to tell the story, and the best way I can do that is just one of my favorite stories that I like to tell when Julie and I got started, was that we lived in an old house built in 1903. We just barely had nickels to rub together. I was a teenager and had bought a 72 Corvette convertible and couldn't afford it, but turned around, resold it, made me about $2,500. Julie had saved about $2,500, and we were bouncing off each other some ideas. And anyway, the art business people kept telling us what was needed, and this thing and that thing, and we had sort of zeroed in on making papers for other artists. But you think, well, here's a guy with a winery, but this is the beginning. Anyway, my story was that I was waiting on UPS to deliver a package to our place, and one day the UPS man passes by, and I'm looking at him go by, and I'm going, he's got a package for me. I know he does. And he went on, and the next day here he did it again, just like this fellow walking up here, and I ran him down the second day. And I go, don't you have a package for me? And he goes, yeah, well, who are you? And I said, David Boone. Yeah, I've got it right here. He goes, where do you live? I said, right there. He goes, I thought that house was condemned. So that's where Julie and I got started. And it just seems like after that, meeting the right people at the right time, whatever we needed, we found the right people at the right time, which was a lot of it for us. And from there, I started, got a line of birdhouses going, and they took off well. And next thing I know, we have made and sold 60,000 of those birdhouses, and which led to, and that took over 30 years. But led to, the birds sort of led to the next step, which was the wine. And what we had tried to do was bring in different plants to bring in different species of birds on our property. And through that, grapes was one of them. Everybody told me I had a green thumb, and I was pretty good at growing things. And so basically got interested in making wine. Next thing I know, I've got a 300 vine vineyard and trying different species of grapes to see what we could grow. And I just should have said, I jumped over birds when I was making the bird houses. That helped. I was out at art shows throughout the country, and we were meeting artists. Sorry, I'm backing up. Hopefully this thing can be edited a little bit. And meeting artists throughout the country, and we decided back then, when we were successful doing these art shows, that I would bring in different artwork from around the country to our gallery. Is this going to be edited? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
this is terrible. Anyway, we had met a bunch of artists, and we ended up in '07. Through all that, we were nominated one of the top galleries in the United States, and then I'll get back to my story where I was on the vines. Is that we, after '07, the economy took a dive, and we needed to put our property to work. And those vines, finding out what I had learned about that, the test vineyard, then we planted 1,600 vines, much larger scale, 5 acres and grapes, and did pretty well at that. Met the right people again. A lady named Gay Dellinger. If you look her up, she was a customer of ours, but she was credited with bringing the Georgia farm wine industry back to Georgia, and she realized what I was trying to do through an odd conversation, and she introduced me to the Three Sisters owners vineyard, and from there doors started to open up again, and now we're making wines. I guess I need to stop there. I'm not sure if anybody wants to ask me a question. That always helps me as far as to put this story back together again. I know I'm jumped around quite a bit.
You did great, Dave. So this is the part, for those who are new, where, we'll take 20, 30 minutes and you can ask curious questions about their business, their vineyard, and their art gallery. You can ask, you can tell us more, David, in this question time about some of the business challenges that you may have had, whether it's PR or marketing or growth, and then you guys can offer up solutions. If you've got ideas for how to help them solve those problems. So whoever has the first question there.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
So you've been in Ball Ground how long again?
I've owned the property for 33 years,
okay.
And our gallery, we moved on to the property about 27 years ago, and the gallery is now about to be 20 years old.
How do you feel your business has grown over the last 3 years?
Yeah.
Has it grown?
One of the things I like to say, or I don't just like to say, but I say often, find myself saying, is that I've lived in Ball Ground roughly for 33 years, and 30 of them have been fairly stagnant. The last 3, it's like we're on fire. Ball Ground's the place to be. Everybody that comes in my tasting room and gallery, I tell them this is a great opportunity as far as property investment, in my opinion. I think Ball Ground has grown a lot, but I think it's going to grow a whole lot more. One of the things Jonathan and I spoke about the other day, and if I had anything profound to say, is that, in my opinion, if you're younger than probably 35 years old, you've never experienced a good economy, a thriving economy. And for me, I feel like if you've tried and you've started up and you've floundered or done fairly well, I think for Julie and myself, is the last 2 years have almost been like, again, on fire, really going really well. And I think what is going to happen, and Jonathan mentioned this about his business, and it did for ours. He said it took him like 2.5 years to get his feet on the ground, to find out how to run your business, find out who find those things, who you are, is what he said. And Julie and I, it actually took us more like 6 years. Well, if you use the sort of the logic there, if the past 2 years have been as good as they have been, in my opinion, the young entrepreneurs coming along, are about to see really what a good economy is. Plus, it's taken them a little time to get traction, just like what we were talking about. Find who you are, and I think we're on the edge of a renaissance. And I'm going to go back to the 80s because that's what I remember. I was 18 and basically had seen a rough economy and then an exploding economy, and we are seeing that again. We feel like, especially here in Ball Ground anyway. So
do the artwork in your gallery, is it like consignment, or do artists just bring their stuff and you sell it for them?
Well, we're real fortunate in coming up with that line of birdhouses for myself. It was, I'm just going to give the credit to God, Christ, for myself. It came into me, into my head, just like a photograph. And what ended up happening was that I got into the biggest shows in the country with this concept. And when you think of the small town shows, where you think of the big shows, Charlotte, North Carolina, they would shut down the whole city. You know, 200,000 or 300,000 people would come to these things. Well, I was out meeting professional artists, one after another, hundreds at a time, and these guys were to the point that I'll sell to you as a gallery, but I'm not going to give you this work. I am basically selling everything I can make. So we were real fortunate. All of them were professional artists. Very hard to get their work, so you really had to put your money where your mouth was. So in saying that, no consignments except two-dimensional work in our gallery. All the pottery, glass, and the pieces like that, the fine crafts are purchased. The two-dimensional work, frame pieces on the walls, are consigned. And that's pretty much the rule of thumb in the business that we're in.
Which kind of wines do you focus on? You got like 3 different styles that you focus on, or?
Yeah. Our primary grape that we grow that does well for us is called Cynthiana. And I could be wrong on this, and I get some of my facts twisted a little bit, but I believe Cynthiana is a hybrid of the Norton. And the Norton grape just grows natural up north. Here in the past 30 to 40 years, the Norton or the Cynthiana has been culled and refined and have become a very nice grape. Requires very little care at this altitude, and so that's the grape that we focus on. And through that, basically, I can either barter, trade, buy whatever I need to do with that grape for the other grapes that we use in the winery. Where Three Sisters is a 40-acre vineyard, we're a 5-acre vineyard. That basically is how we decide to work with with the Three Sisters vineyards. It's having that to fall back on those guys. It's almost endless wine to a degree.
David, a question real quick. So you and I talked about how you've gone from art gallery for 20 plus years. Got great experience doing that, and now you're moving into vineyards, outdoor music venue, and all that.
Yeah.
From what I've learned and heard over the last couple of years, when it comes to business, part of the key of marketing really well is knowing who your customer is.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I haven't asked you that before. So, who is y'all's ideal customer, and is it the same person for the art gallery and the vineyards and music, or is it 2 different groups?
Yeah. One of the things that Julie and I like to talk about is, again, one of the old stories that we had when we first opened. I was so nervous. I was more nervous than I was today. And Julie goes, we didn't even have our signs up at the store. And Julie goes, let's just open the gate and see what happens. And so she goes out there, opens the gate, and a car follows her back to the store. And this was 20 years ago. And lightning struck. We felt like we had gotten lightning in a bottle. And nothing but fantastic things happened for us. We just grew, expanded. These were baby boomers in their prime, in my opinion. They were generally about 50 years old, selling like crazy. Then the bad economy comes along, and these 50-year-olds have become 60, 65, so they're settling down. So to answer your question where I'm at now, it's, again, younger people haven't experienced a great economy, having loose money, extra money, and what Julie and I are seeing through the wine, and they are into wine. That is obvious for us. We've done well there. But they're having their eyes opened again to the arts, American arts and crafts again. So we are seeing a resurgence of the gallery through the winery, which is what we had hoped for. We had somewhat expected that. It was a little slower in coming than what we expected, but right now, well, I'd just say we just had our biggest week that we've had in years this past week. So we're thrilled with that, and we want to. I don't know what to expect about our old customers, because I think they're in a new stage of their lives, downsizing, that kind of thing. But I just am excited again about what I'm seeing with the future for myself. Did that answer the question?
Yeah, I think it answered some aspects of it. Yeah, because I'm so new to the business, so I'm just trying to understand. I think John had a question.
Yeah. Three Sisters, is that the one that's in South Georgia?
No. Three Sisters is in Dahlonega. They're the oldest farm winery in Lumpkin County. It was owned by Doug and Sharon Paul. Doug recently, just unexpectedly, had passed away. So there's a little bit of a turbulence there as far as our relationship with them, and nothing that can't be gotten over, just sad. And but no, Three Sisters is the owners there are some of the nicest folks you'd ever meet. I think they make the best wine, besides mine maybe. So a lot of it.
What are your hours?
We're open Wednesday through Sunday. Wednesday through Saturday, 12:30 to 5. 10 to 5. Sunday, 12:30 to 5. But in saying that, the tasting room, we're sort of a skeleton crew. There's primarily 3 of us, and we can really only do tastings, go up to the expectations of what a tasting room should be, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And again, somebody mentioned the PR. We do entertainment. We're working on a little amphitheater for Friday evenings and Saturday. And this is all weather permitting. Obviously, we're an outdoor facility, but Saturdays is 2:30 to 5:30, and then Sunday 2 to 5. We try to do music on those hours of those days.
So what are the plans for your future? You said live music venue. Can you take us through that?
Yeah. Basically, wineries it's very competitive, and and my understanding of my own information that I'm getting back, I think right now I'm one of 2 wineries. There's 60 wineries in Georgia. I'm one of 2 that still have perfect scores across all search engines right now. That's my knowing about it. But it's so competitive that you've got to be doing something else other than making and selling wine. The customer is wants to be pampered, and we're learning that. And this where we're into the visual arts for all of our lives, that we've been buying and selling artwork. We're also hovering and being around all the time the performing art, and so that was a natural step for us to be looking at musicians, performers, different aspects of that art to bring on to our business. So we started in a small scale, had a little stage put behind the store, and saw the potential. And now we've got an amphitheater. It's about a 300 people, I like to say when people come to our store right now and we've got 70 people at our smaller stage, they go, wow, this is the place to be. And then you've got 70 people, but put 70 people down in the amphitheater and they go, where is everybody? And so that's where we're at right now. We're trying to grow past the smaller and grow to the larger. Yes, sir.
You've been in business for quite some time now, and your business has grown through the years. What advice would you give, I guess, your younger self when you first started out?
Yeah.
I'm sure you gained a lot of insight and wisdom during that time frame.
Well, one of the things that I did do well is recognize people helping me, recognizing those that were coming forward. I even said to Jonathan there, I said, maybe this is you're the next person in my life. Otherwise, being younger, looking back on yourself, the risk that you take as an entrepreneur, it is huge, but at the same time, when you're younger and you don't have a family, as young as I was, that's the time to do it. If you've thought it through logically, and you can get from A to B, go for it. Don't barely tip your toe in the water. Dive in. And so for me, that was hard. I mentioned 6 years for me to get traction. I think that was what it was. Going at it wholeheartedly, not being afraid to just dive in.
Cool. It's great insight.
I'd like to echo what you said a while ago, David, about ball ground. I've lived in Cherokee County for 25 years. I traveled for international companies. I was only at home on Saturday and Sunday. And I came up here to the community center a couple of years ago, and they had a candidate forum, and they said it was brought to you by the Ball Ground Business Association. And I didn't know there was such a thing. I went over and talked to the ladies, and I've been coming to their meetings, and it's fantastic. I agree with you. It's right on the cusp of kind of being discovered.
Yeah.
You know, and so and y'all are part of the farm tour that Farm Bureau, Cherokee County Farm Bureau brought people out to your place because
that was the FFA, right? That was Future Farmers of America.
Well, they were there, but it was the Cherokee County Farm Bureau, and because winery business is part of that ag tourism business of Georgia,
right?
And I think you're right on this being a unique place and that kind of business being.
One of the things that I have seen, and I talk to a lot of people all the time. You wouldn't know it today, but I do talk to a lot of folks, and I hear the same things over and over and over with people interested, wondering, they've got questions. I think limited space, I think those things, I know Eric and Rick are working on that every day kind of thing. That's what they live with, an issue of that going on every day, is how do we find more space. But the people that I talk to, they either have already moved in with big plans or thinking about moving in with big plans. I hope they do. Julie and I are excited about what that could lead to in the future. But ball ground, in my mind, ball ground's the place to be. We had a man talk to us that had a lot to do with the hospitals that are being built north and south of ball ground, and he basically said that he knew investors that were saying ball ground is now the sweet spot as far as growth north of Atlanta. So how much he knew, and he didn't elaborate on that. I was pretty busy, tried to get some more answers beyond that from him, but I feel that he was right. And anyway, Any other questions?
I wanted to point out, well, I don't want to take too much time because I want a couple more questions, but when I met with you last Friday, you had mentioned y'all have only been doing outdoor music for a short period of time.
Yeah.
To y'all's credit, you know, you're just getting started into that venue, so I feel like y'all might have been a little hard on yourself, but I can't speak from experience running a music venue, but from what I've seen, it takes a little bit of time to build up a loyal tribe and a community of people that understand where you are and what you're offering.
Yeah.
So, you know, all that to say, just hang in there for the long haul if you're going to stick with the music venue, and don't be too hard on yourself, because I think it takes a little bit of time.
Well, one thing, and I would ask my fellow entrepreneurs and folks here, is that not always when you start a new idea do you have exactly what you want to work with. And there are great musicians locally. There are some really outstanding and some good. And there's all levels. And I think when you come to somebody like us, you expect nothing but the best. And Julie and I are hard on ourselves. We want to be nothing but the best. And so sometimes you may get there only because we only have a pool so big to work with and funds, is that we might have somebody more what I like to call the artist rather than the real performer. Not so charismatic, not so perfect on their voice and everything, but other things that sort of shine that I've seen, that I see with them, that I say, okay, you can perform here. I want you to be here on this Saturday. And you might come and go, well, this is not the genre or whatever that I like, and sort of dismiss it. As artists, Julie and I, we do opera. We had a girl named Victoria Hill. Some of y'all may have seen or heard her before. She is like #1 in the nation from, I think, 18 to 25, opera singer. Did some pieces from The Phantom of the Opera. Just unbelievable. And then we got a young man named Ryan Davis. He sings just like Frank Sinatra. And you go, well, you can see how the younger people would go, Frank who? You know, and then us older folks. But he has to do it sort of karaoke because he has access to a 17-piece brass band, but that's a $2,500 to $3,000 one gig deal, and so we're working toward that. So we've got a vision as to what we want this to be. It's just we're not there yet. It takes, you got to get the ball rolling, and hopefully you can get to A to B.
We got time for one more question. I think we've got to.
Yeah. Just want to know, how often are these music events happening at the winery?
Yeah.
Because it sounds like a fun event.
Yeah. It's we start up mid-April, and it runs pretty much to Thanksgiving. It's every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, weather permitting. Again, we're an outdoor facility, so if you wake up and the forecast is 20% chance of rain, chances are we're going to have the music there. If it is bright and sunny and beautiful, we are going to have music there. And again, our selection is getting better and better and better of the musicians that we have there. If you get a chance, Google the Orange Walls. Watch them guys perform. And we had those last Friday night, and they were just awesome. Just a great band.
David, we always ask one question before we close the program, and that is, what can your community do for you?
Well, one of the things that Jonathan had mentioned, and that's sort of how I got to be standing in this spot here, is the PR aspects of a business. I've always said, put your best foot forward, let the chips fall where they may, and if you've done your best and you have the best you can, it'll come around. With social media the way it is today, I'm not very good at it. I am tutored. I'm working on it. But PR, anybody that knows the issues of growing a business, getting the word out, again, I think it has a lot to do with me standing right here. I said, well, this is a perfect PR moment. But at the same time, for folks that are dealing with the same problems, I'm all ears. I'd like to hear a low budget, because that's exactly where we are. Julie and I have put in everything we've got into this business, and right now it has to grow on its own. We're not going to feed it anymore. It has got to grow on its own. So that's where we're at. I don't know if that answered the question.
Yes, sir.
But that's where Julie and I are. And I hope this thing is edited.
Let's give a round of applause for David. Thank you, David. And as you've taken your seat, one thing we do for all of our presenters at 1MC is we'd like to present you both with 1MC coffee mugs.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Has everyone put their business card in the bucket held by Jonathan? We've got some giveaways. Okay.
You're good. Usually in the back.
Anybody else?
Turn it off a little bit.
Buttons.
It's good. No, you did.
Okay. Twice the chance here. Anybody else?
Sweet. What are we doing? 3 items.
Well, we can do 3 coffee mugs, and then have somebody donated a book.
Awesome. All right, 3 coffee mugs and a book. Let's see who we got here. First winner, Jarrett Robinson, certified by the Aerial Perspective.
Aerial Perspective. There you go. Thank you.
Awesome. Next winner,
For 1MC travel mug.
John Wallace.
Oh, there you
There
go.
we go. You got one yet?
No, I don't have one. Thank you very much.
All right.
This is Joe Hammond Swain.
Here we go. All right, Joe.
Nice catch.
Thank you.
Final one.
Last but not least, Jill.
I'll take it for it.
Thank you, everybody. The next time we'll meet will be June the 6th at the circuit. We are adjourned.
Jared, thank y'all. Y'all are starting service at 11, Dylan?
Yes, sir.
So if we could be pretty respectful of their time, I'm sure they probably need to do cleanup and prep the bus and all that.
No, it takes me about 5 minutes.
So y'all hang around for a few minutes and share cards and take some more coffee. Thank y'all.
It was real hard for me to sit there and not take over. But you guys, how are you doing? You are a very involved in
Jamie Morris, nice to meet you.
I started thinking, when I meet you guys, you're always going to play ball. Just had okay. And all the years you worked out of the, you live in the basement of your house.